Hey all, and welcome back to Knuckles Chaotix. We've got a few extras to show you here, such as this. Before it was even called Chaotix, never mind Knuckles Chaotix, it was actually a prototype featuring Sonic and Tails using the same ring system, and as you can probably tell by the intro, it was called Sonic Crackers, and now I'm going to hand over to Flame because he obviously knows more about this than I do.
So I want to stress before we start ripping into this too much that yes, this was very much a work in progress, and the ring system here works quite a bit differently to how it does in the final version of Chaotix. And the biggest difference between those is that the ring, when you go to jump, it holds the character down at the same time, whereas in the final game they were different buttons, and that is the big distinction between this being playable in the final game, and whether you can call this playable or not is open to interpretation here. But yeah, there's a reason why I'm flying around all over the place here, and that's because it's quite clearly unfinished, you know.
Well, I'm not going to judge a beta or whatever. That's, kind of pointless, really. But how would you say the game feel is compared to the final thing? Did Sonic's arm just come off his body?
Yeah, that happens a lot. I think that's just an animation quirk that hadn't been quite finalised yet. But the game feel is night and day, really, because that whole distinction of holding the character still when you jump, that completely breaks any chance you would have of using it to your advantage. That kind of feels like the sort of thing that probably ended up justifying it in the final product. So the fact that you could use the ring to fire yourself forward or back or whatever. Whereas here it's I'm not trying to do anything overly complex here, but it's just with the system how it works in this particular version, it's just not practical to make even basic manoeuvres.
Yeah, clearly. But I suppose that's the thing whenever you are developing video games, is that sometimes you have an idea and it doesn't quite work out as perhaps you had initially intended.
Well,
so you have to go back to the drawing board with things and rejig them to try and get them to actually work. And I mean, this is clearly playable. Whether it's any fun or not is a different kettle of fish entirely, but
it's funny you say that, because they did end up releasing Chaotix anyway, even though the ring system kind of makes designing levels much harder than it needed to be. There were barely any bottomless pits from what I saw. It was mostly vertical, which if you've played Sonic CD, you can kind of sense a similar design ethos there as well. And I don't know, maybe they should have just scrapped it entirely, but at the same time we got a good OST out of it, so I'm glad it exists.
See, the thing that I will defend there is that the whole ring mechanic, it caused a lot of problems in the final game. We just saw that in the main playthrough. But, I can see why as an idea someone might want to try that and flesh it out. It's unique, and it ended up working as intended at the very least. That, by the way, is the way that this particular version works, in that you get 3 minutes in any level and it moves you on to the next one.
fair.
The difference there is that works, whereas you saw me with the springs on the floor. It was just such an ordeal just to make a character jump without getting stuck to the floor. But these sections are something that didn't end up in the final game, and as you can see, there's no collision here. I've seen people speculate that this was possibly going to be some kind of bonus stage or a special stage. To me, what I kind of see this more likely being is maybe some level hub.
Yeah,
I can see that. Especially if you look at the shape, it's almost ring-shaped, kind of like an island.
It looks kind of like the sort of place, think of, say, the one that's coming to mind is the Cuphead's overworld.
Yeah.
Where it's you walk around a, still flat, but sort of pseudo-isometric overworld where you just go and pick your levels from. And these ones, they're called fields, and there's 2 of them in the actual demo itself that you can get. There's 2 of these levels that are quote-unquote playable, and 2 of the fields as well. This is the other one. This one does loop infinitely, and you'll see some of the collision issues that they had in this particular version of the game.
Jeez.
Because I can kind of see how frustrating this must be to try to get to work, given that you're accounting for two characters who could be flying all over the screen. And when you've got to bear in mind that the character may potentially get stuck below a surface, so you need a way to get them back up, but you also don't want your lead character to fall through the floor. And balancing that, I'm not going to pretend to understand. I know how this works because I quite obviously don't. But you know, like that seems like the sort of thing that would be quite tricky to make work.
Well, they kind of had a workaround for that in the final game. We didn't show it off much, if at all, during the main playthrough. But there is a button, a dedicated button, that you can press to bring your partner back to you.
Yes, you can do that. The reason I didn't do that in the playthrough is it costs 10 rings to do, and I'm stingy, but you know.
And you can actually go into negative rings, which is pretty funny.
It is, yeah, like, if your characters can somehow rack up a debt of, like, just because they keep calling their friend back.
Yeah, well.
But you can skip ahead. I realised that I wasn't going to have much to show off in this level, so I just decided to go through the debug. We've got one more level from Cracker to show off, which is the second field area, which almost reminds me of... what's the techie mechanical level from Flicky's Island? Sort of getting vibes of that.
I'm going to have to look up a level things. Oh, Panic Puppet Zone?
That sounds about right. Like it's...
or Puppet Panic, yeah.
Yeah, like it's the whole borders around the edge that they're trying to do there. That's what's making me think of it more than anything. Like, and I know there is very little visual distinction from Flicky's Island levels to remember, so maybe that's why they're all sort of getting jumbled together in my head.
Hey, one's green and orange, another is red and yellow, another is blue, and so on.
Look, there's a lot of bad games that I'm happy to remember things about, but Flicky's Island is boring and bad, so I don't care.
I love how they turn to look at you specifically, like, you making fun of my game? You little prick?
But now we are going back to the full version of the game that released, because we've got a handful of different codes we can put into the colour test.
Oh, okay.
Which is how you get to the extra content. Like, usually in classic Sonic games, that's mostly like for getting debug mode and things like that. But here, the first thing we're gonna get, if we put this in here, is we are going to get a special version of the sound test. And you will see what I mean there. I'm just showing this off, so if you want to try this at home, you can. I know, the most visually stimulating content on screen right now, but, you know. So when you put that in, we can go back to the options. And there's one character we haven't seen yet.
Oh.
There's Amy Rose.
Cool, sweet, and catchy. Yep, that's Door into Summer, alright.
Now we've actually had, I believe, the entire cast of the Sonic series up to this point in, because we had, obviously, Knuckles and the Chaotix in the gameplay. In the good ending, we had Sonic and Tails on the plane there. And now we've got Classic Amy. I don't think there were any other classic characters, at least in the game canon at that point. So they did manage to get everyone in, which, for a game of this era, that's quite a big cast of characters, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm trying to think, like, Mega Man kind of had a big cast when they started giving personalities to the Robot Masters and that, but even then, that weren't until quite a bit later in the series. And you will be able to see the exact point in the sound effects when I start regretting scrolling through this part here. Because this soundtrack is a lot bigger than I remembered it being, but it does kind of add up when you consider that there are boss themes for each boss.
Again, pretty unique for a Sonic game, really.
It is, and again, like, the soundtrack itself being so distinct from classic Sonic, it is the sort of thing that, like, I know we are spoiled by YouTube rips to soundtracks now, or if you're a little bit more legit, if you buy the officially licensed version, which I don't actually think there is one for this game, unfortunately.
Doubt it.
I do remember there being a few times when I was a kid when I would just have my Dreamcast on, listening to Sonic Adventure 2 music while I was doing other stuff. So, like, back in the day, this kind of thing did make sense. think there's 100 of these fucking things, by the way.
Oh Christ, are you gonna show every single one of them off?
Well, I could play them all in full if you want.
Nah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Release Amy from her dancing prison, you mean tyrant.
Well, it felt longer because instead of just being the numbers, it was like A, B, C on top of that. But now this is the one that if you want to play Knuckles Chaotix normally, you want to do, because this is how you actually get the stage select.
Ah.
So if you're tired of doing what I was doing through the main run and save scumming to get the level you want next, this is how you do it. You can just go in, and I won't just be doing that. I'll be showing off something a little extra that you can only get through save select here.
Ooh.
So if we pick our characters, we can see all the characters that we've been playing as so far. You got the Chaotix, you got Mighty and Bomb, Heavy and Bomb even. I'm doing it again. And we have this new character whose name seems to be incredibly profane.
What the fuck is this monstrosity?
This is the Asterisk character, who has actually got a bit of a fan nickname of Wagner, like White Echidna, because he is just a like obvious early version of Knuckles here. His playstyle is basically Mighty's in this game, but in some of the earlier versions, one of them did have Tails' flight.
Huh.
And that seems to, must obviously be a carryover from the Sonic Crackers version when Sonic and Tails were planned to be in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes me think that maybe these are just leftovers, because Mighty, the character whose traits he inherited in this version, is just a Sonic recolor. Let's be real here, he is literally a Sonic recolor. So if this is like the middle stage of them converting Sonic to Mighty, that makes sense, you know?
This talk of, like fan characters and whatnot, well, fan nicknames and stuff, reminds me of the Assured Lich, and it just put me in mind of Assured Dark Reign, a very old fan game that, as of now, still hasn't released, but, just check the website, and as of March 15th, 2021, there is a Badnik concept design submission thing now open, so it might have taken them forever, but it's not dead.
Well, that's the thing with fan projects in general, in that a lot of them are people developing stuff in their free time, so, you know, it takes a lot longer than you might expect. But there is something extra I want to show with this particular level.
Oh.
The game in general. Can you see what I'm doing, Tom?
Yeah, it's a thing that also is similar to Sonic CD.
A little bit, yes. We are going to stand here for 56 seconds. Not a full minute, 56 seconds for some reason.
Alright.
Like, we can look at the emotions in these characters' faces as they feel what's coming.
Heavy. War is hell, but I'm ready for it.
War is hell. I know, I am literally a war machine.
Yeah, it is my fate to explode. God.
He is very much looking at the ground with Hello Darkness, my old friend vibes.
Here we go. Fucking scary ass music comes in and Metal Sonic's like, fucking pick up the pace, alright?
Yep, he just comes and fucking shoots you. What happens there is that when you take a hit in the game, and you don't have any rings, your partner character will disappear for a while and then come back. And that basically gives you an extra free hit. If you get hit again, then you will die.
Okay.
This game doesn't actually have a life system, so you're not going to game over. It just sends you back to the hub world and you have to go and pick a new level with the randomizer thingy.
Well, that's not too bad.
It's not, I can kind of see it getting frustrating if you, maybe if you're a kid and you're not that great at the game and you get close to finishing a level and fuck up, and then you gotta randomly generate that one again. I can see that maybe being frustrating, but I do appreciate that there's not a life system here because, it's kind of, it was outdated at this point, you know? Like, once you're not getting machines trying to eat your money anymore, you know, like, it's kind of an outdated system. So the fact that they do encourage you to just keep playing, it's not quite as punishing with like a game over, you fucked up, try again.
Yeah, I get you, mate. Well, we're drawing to the close now, so we should probably start giving our final thoughts on the game. But one last anecdote from me. The game is fully playable in co-op, and I did play through it with a friend back in the day. And when we were on the final boss, I swear I'm not making this up, I don't know whether it was like an intentional thing or not. We were playing as Charmy and I think Heavy, and we could not take damage from the boss at all. We were invincible, and I don't know if that's a glitch or whatever, but if anyone else had that experience, please let me know so I'm not going even more insane. Jesus!
Yes! This is the quote-unquote bad ending, and like, this happens immediately after you fight the final boss with no sort of middle ground. It's just like, you give the final hit on him, and then suddenly flames everywhere, everyone's fucking dead. You know, like, it's the most extreme bad ending I think any Sonic game's had, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
You know, they're gonna have to one-up this by just like cutting to Tails' suicide note or something.
Very much so.
Like, yeah, if we get maybe a dark and edgy remake of Sonic 2 Master System or something.
Big died of diabetes. You know what, that's just making me depressed, so no more. Flame, your final thoughts on Knuckles Chaotix?
Knuckles Chaotix is a game that is consistently annoying in its gameplay from start to finish, and I can't help but appreciate it. The presentation, it holds it all together for me, and like I said in an earlier part, I did go into this knowing all the caveats, so I wasn't as concerned by it as people playing it blind would have been, but, you know, for it is, in the context of playing it now, looking at this weird part of Sonic's history, you know, I can't dislike it.
It's a very mid-game. You know, I don't think the ring system complements natural Sonic gameplay at all, and especially, you know, in terms of facilitating good level design, I feel like it's at odds with natural Sonic gameplay. It's too vertical for its own good, which is a complaint people often have with Sonic CD, but like Flame says, the presentation holds everything together. It's very charming, the soundtrack is great, I like all the characters with their unique abilities and just general designs and whatnot, and the story's nothing, but hey, we got to see a city on fire, which we won't see again until the likes of Sonic 06 and Crisis City, so good stuff, I guess. Like I said, this is a 6 out of 10 across the board, and I'm glad it brought the Chaotix into existence, but other than that, you're not really missing anything by not playing Knuckles Chaotix. But that said, bring it back for a collection. The modern generation needs to see the crazy physics of the ring system.
Definitely.
He's still there, he's not going away.
No, of course not. Why would he? Like, he needs to destroy all the people that they're giving special thanks to, and all the testers as well, like, just to be perfectly sure.
Yeah, that wasn't credits, that was a list of the dead.
Jesus Christ.
Thanks for playing. Presented by Hell. Jesus Christ. Alright guys, that'll do it for Knuckles Chaotix. I've been Antop64.
I've been the Flameflower.
And I've been Richie.
And we'll see you next time when we do a quick long play of Sonic R for the Sega Saturn. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough guys. See you next time. Bye bye.